blame Geno Smith for the Browns' win over the Las Vegas Raiders 24-10. I'm not saying that it's only Geno Smith's fault, but there's a reason why the moment Geno Smith walked out on the field today and all he heard was boos. When you spit in the face of Raider Nation and then you put that performance together from top to bottom, it's extremely frustrating. But what's even more extremely frustrating is I feel like I can't do my job. I feel like as a fan, I watch this team week in and week out. And like the video, if you've heard me say this before, Pete Carroll, fucking retire already. Chip Kelly, go on a diet and retire or fire yourself already. Geno Smith, if the team's not going to bench you, go find a bench, sit your ass down. Brennan Carroll, 10 sacks today, 20 sacks in the last 3 games. I mean it when I say this. If Geno Smith is the starting quarterback next week, go fuck yourself, Pete. If Chip Kelly isn't fired after this game, go fuck yourself, Pete. If Brennan Carroll isn't fired after this game, go fuck yourself, Pete. And I hate saying it because I think Pete's a good guy. But legitimately, this is the worst Raiders team I've ever seen. Like, this is a worse team than what Jamarcus Russell. Like, the Jamarcus Russell Raiders, I think, would beat this team. The fact that we had the second most money in salary cap space, 11 draft picks, and somehow we have gotten worse. I know that there's some people that want to keep Pete Carroll for next season. I don't know how anybody under God's green earth would want Pete Carroll to return because, yes, this team doesn't have a lot of talent, but we are failing on offense miserably. Defense, actually, I don't think we did all that bad today, but you let a rookie quarterback in Shedeur Sanders in a horrific offense put up 24, and honestly, they should have put more up. I've never seen a team punt at the 29-yard line. I think that's the 3rd time this season that an NFL team has felt bad for the Raiders. The Chiefs were taking knees with 2 minutes left in the game. The Browns punted on the 29-yard line. There was an earlier game this season where another team was taking knees and trying to run it out before the 2-minute warning. I actually think teams feel bad for how horrific this team is. So what I want to know from y'all, is this the worst Raiders team that you have ever seen? And I apologize for throwing out curse words. My mom's probably going to yell at me after the show. The F word's her number one word that she hates. But I don't know what other word that I can use to illustrate my frustration because the Las Vegas Raiders under Pete Carroll are such a bad team that I don't know what there is to evaluate because it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again every single week. And the reason why I don't know what's going to change is because Pete's not going to put blame on Geno. Guarantee you that he doesn't. He was walking in at halftime, and he was like, oh, our offensive line needs to block better. You're not wrong. Absolutely they need to block better. But then you got to tell your kid to put different guys on the line. You know, Alex Kappa goes in at center over Caleb Rogers. Laughable. Then you bench Will Putnam, and instead of putting in Caleb Rogers in a game that's just totally out of reach, you put Alex Kappa and Will Putnam back in the game. You can't help stupidity, but you also can't help ignorance. And this is the most ignorant Raiders coaching staff that has ever been assembled. Pete Carroll cares more about Geno Smith and cares more about being right than what's doing right. Again, I've said it 100 times this year. Chip Kelly, he's not going to mix and match. He's going to continue to run these stupid mesh pistol runs on second down. To me, there are so many different things wrong with this team, and it's sad because I can't believe our coaching staff actually thought that this was going to be a football team that wins games. And, you know, again, when you look at these numbers here, look at the penalties. It's penalties, it's failing on special teams, it's failing on defense, it's failing on offense. And when you're a coaching staff that has this much experience, I mean, I'm sorry, but please, Pete, I need you to retire. And I feel bad that I said F Pete because I know he's a good human being, and I know he's an older gentleman, and I feel like I kind of just said the F word to my grandfather. But everybody in a family goes through this one situation where grandma and grandpa are trying to drive. And I get it, grandma and grandpa were probably great drivers 10 years ago, but then you have that situation with your family, and you're like, I think it's time to tell grandma and grandpa they can't drive anymore. Somebody's got to have that conversation. I mean, Chugs just said you're going to cause a wreck. You've already caused a wreck. You have caused a 9-car pileup. I guess technically today a 10-car pileup. Again, idiotic coaching is putting Ian Thomas on Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett had, 5 sacks today. He's got 18 on the season, and he's the best player on the planet. And coming up next year on the show, you guys can obviously see that I'm frustrated. I can't wait to show y'all the reaction from Raider Nation. And I can't wait to show y'all that I'm not the only one that's sick and tired of it. But Mark, I mean this when I say it. Mark, it's time, man. And I feel bad that you got to do it again. And I can't believe that you have to do it again. But the reports are true. The front office and this coaching staff have a lot of disconnect. And you got Raiders players that look like, Jeanty looks completely lost. Brock Bowers looks completely lost. You got fans, fans getting tickets in the black hole, and they're not standing. I heard from a few people that apparently Geno Smith was saying some pretty wild shit to Raiders fans during that game, and I get it. Geno Smith's frustrated. But Geno, you told us to blame you. Geno, you said you're better when your back's up against the wall. Geno, you said this is why you get paid the big bucks. With all due respect, Geno, I don't know if we got to put a wall out on the field. I don't know what we're going to have to do to make you earn your big bucks, but I think karma's a bitch, and I think Geno Smith's a bitch because this is the personification of the Raiders. Teams take on the identity of their leaders, and I know Max wears the C. This has nothing to do with Max Crosby. He's out there every single game. He's out there every single snap busting his hump. But this is a team that's taking on the identity of Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. And it's a team that's got absolutely no identity. Geno, I know you blocked me. Maybe you should go play offensive line. I'd rather see Geno Smith try to play offensive line at this point, and I would rather see anybody else besides quarterback. But you want to talk about cowardly? Cowardly and the ultimate proof that Pete Carroll cares more about Geno Smith than what's doing right, making Aidan O'Connell the emergency quarterback. Because the only reason why Pete Carroll did that is because he's too afraid to realize that he's wrong. He's too afraid to hear the boo birds because the boo birds were out there, man. And the boo birds are out there because fans want Aidan O'Connell. I want to see Aidan O'Connell because I want something to root for. And if you're just going to keep doing the same bullshit over and over and over again, you are, man. You're going to lose some people. But Geno Smith, I feel bad that he got sacked 10 times, but I'll say it again. When you spit in the face of Raider Nation, I think karma's a bitch. And I'll say it to your face because I would be happy, and I mean it, happy to say it to I left my comments on, Geno. I left my comments on so you'd write back. I mean it when I say it. I want no part of Geno Smith anymore. And if any more family members from Geno Smith come at me, you know where to find me. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. Geno, I've been waiting for you to write back. I've been praying for you to write back. And I'm looking at you dead in the eyes right now on this camera. We don't want you here. So the sooner you're gone, and if that means Pete's got to go, whatever it's got to take, I am done with the Pete Carroll Raiders. I'm done with it. And if you're going to keep rolling with out there on the field, Mark, people are going to start losing interest. People have already lost interest. I am done with the fucking Pete Carroll Raiders. Now let's talk about our sponsor here, Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. And if you want to go get started with Prize Picks, you can go ahead and do it. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. It's good to be right. You know it's good to be right? It's good to be right knowing that Pete wasn't going to change anything. And I knew Pete wasn't going to change anything. And the fact that they rolled with the offensive line that they did the week before against the Dallas Cowboys and made absolutely no changes is why that this Prize Picks lineup put money in my pocket, because I knew that they weren't going to make changes. I knew that Ashton Jeanty was going to struggle running the football. I knew that this team was going to have to throw it. Now, I'll admit the 15.5 rush attempts, I got that one wrong, and I am happy, and I mean I am happy that I got that one wrong. But man, oh man, we are getting close to a #1 overall pick, and I hope that we do get a #1 overall pick. Just like I hope that you guys get started with America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. It's Prize Picks. If you need something to root for on Raiders game day, the only thing I'm rooting for anymore as a Raiders fan is that notification that the Raiders have moved on from Pete Carroll. That notification that the Raiders have moved on from Chip Kelly. That notification that the Raiders have fired Brennan Carroll. That notification that the Raiders have benched Geno Smith. If that doesn't happen, well then guess what? I'm going to continue to play Prize Picks every single day because at least Prize Picks puts a smile on my face, just like Raider Nation. That link's down in the comments. It's down in the description of today's show. Shout out to all of Raider Nation for always showing up and showing out. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through some of the reactions from this game. Geno Smith is a bum. Worst quarterback ever. I mean, I can't believe that. I remember that sign. Remember that double bird sign from that Seahawks fan in that game? It was like Geno Smith's Jamarcus Russell. Again, I get Geno Smith dealt with a lot of pressure today, but I can't wait to watch the All-22 film because I think a lot of people that don't watch tape are just going to say, oh, Geno played bad only because of the offensive line. Geno held on to the ball way too long. I mean, think about how different this game would be if Geno hit Trey Tucker on that first freaking play. It would have been an 86-yard touchdown. We're up and we're running. The amount of missed opportunities by this Raiders team, it's shameful. And yes, Geno got rattled, and I get it. Clearly, Geno he's just not the guy, and he's not going to be the guy in Las Vegas. And the sooner we move on from that situation, the better. But the other reason why, again, we got to move on from Pete, does anybody here trust Pete Carroll to draft a quarterback? I don't trust this regime to draft a quarterback. I don't trust this regime to develop a quarterback. And the other thing, I don't trust this regime to treat that quarterback fairly because of what the bias they show towards Geno Smith. What up, Damon? CJ Carr, maybe in the year 2027. Again, I've had some sources tell me that this is somebody that's on the Raiders' radar. And if you haven't seen that video, I put it out probably about 2 weeks ago. It's called Raiders Quarterback Plan Revealed. Steven, I took this bum 10 years to have 2 lucky seasons in the NFL. Geno Smith is an effing bum. Again, if you don't like Geno, blame Geno down below. And I hope everybody watching the show right now just keeps spamming blame Geno, blame Geno, blame Geno. Suicide. This is the worst Raiders team ever. OC head coaches should be fired. So embarrassing. Take off commitment to excellence wherever Raiders have it posted. I don't know how this organization doesn't do anything different. And I get why Raider fans are down, and I'm down as well. Believe me when I tell you that. I'm down as well. I'm frustrated. I think, maybe the F word that I should be using is frustrated, but I'm at a loss for words. And I'm at a loss for words because, again, there's nothing really that I can point at of like, oh, well, that's positive. Oh, well, that's positive. Michael Mayer got hurt today. Ashton Jeanty got banged up a little bit. I don't know what we could hang our hat on because this is a coaching staff that's going to do what they want, and when they prove to you what they want is garbage, doesn't matter because they're going to do what they want. Javier, one step closer to drafting Mendoza. You're a lot more hopeful than I am. And I think even if the Raiders had the number 1 overall pick, I think even if the Jets didn't take Mendoza, I don't think Pete Carroll would do it. I don't think Pete Carroll would do it. What up, Andre? I don't blame Geno for the Raiders losing. This is a team sport, and our team Raiders didn't show up to play praying for the nation. I hear you, Andre. And again, I'm not fully putting the blame on Geno Smith, but I am going to say blame Geno because, again, I think this Raiders team is taking on the identity of Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. And, there was a part of me today that almost wondered, did some of the offensive linemen, purposely let Geno get hit, kind of almost from the longest yard because I don't think Geno's from people that I've talked to, Geno is well-liked in that locker room, so I don't want to say that he's not. I don't think that that's the case. But there's a part of me that's the offensive line played so bad today, and you didn't make any corrections on the offensive line. All you did was bench Will Putnam for Alex Kappa. But then when, when Meredith went down, then you just put back in Alex Kappa and Will Putnam again instead of trying to develop Charles Grant, instead of trying to develop Caleb Rogers. I mean, even if they get their shit pushed in, at least they're getting some snaps out there on the field. What up, Dag? We call them Gene-overs. The back-breaking ones are called Geno Smith Renz. Fire Chip, send Pete out on an ice. And I hate being that guy because I have respect for Pete, and I know he's a nice guy. And, I've had people that have met Pete, that have, gone out to dinner with Pete, and, everybody that I talk to about Pete's he's an outstanding human being. And I know he's an outstanding human being, but he's doing a shit job, and I don't care what his legacy was. Look at the results. The results of a football team being this bad from top to bottom, and I mean from top to bottom, when you had all the resources that the Raiders had this offseason, there's a clear disconnect. And if Pete Carroll is going to be the head coach again next season, again, man, I'm at the point where when the Raiders move on from Pete and the Raiders move on from some of these guys, I'm going to be going live for a long, long time. I'm going to be going live for a long, long time, and I hope that you're subscribed. Let's go to Jason. Watching the only fired coach be Stefanski for not starting Sanders earlier. I mean, there's a possibility, but I'll say this. I think that the Browns proved to you today that even again, like, not that they don't like Shedeur, but Stefanski, I think, is really angry about having to play him. And, you could say that the Wildcat worked for Quinshon Judkins, but I was surprised how often that they took Shedeur out of the game in red zone situations. And then, like they went with a power running game Wildcat with Judkins, and maybe they were just so confident that they were going to be able to do it and get it done. But, yeah, I don't know how you keep Pete Carroll. And I know Mark is paying a boatload of money and fired coaches already, but Mark, you got billions of dollars. You have the money to do it. If $16 million for Pete's, in all honesty, not a lot of money for like how much money Mark Davis has. If you're going to hit me with he's poor, he broke, again, like I encourage you to look up how much of a difference $1 billion is to $1 million. I think the math would shock you. Mark Davis has the money. And Mark, I'm going to keep saying it, like the reason why you keep bringing in guys that fail, it's really, really simple. And it's this. You're hiring guys that don't know the roster, hiring guys that are learning the team in February to April, and they don't know the roster well enough. The problem is February to April is when you can make real changes in free agency. You can make real changes in the draft. You can bring in the proper coaches that fit with the players you have on your team. But we don't know any of the players that are on our team, and it shows year in and year out. It's why the Raiders Report and why the people that watch this show, literally, I mean, we have the videos to prove it, would be better off hiring us to make the acquisitions and make the personnel moves. Then, after February and April, then we go into May and August. That's where our team coaches start to learn our players. The problem is, though, by that time, we already have too late, and you don't have the ability to go out and make the changes. You don't have the ability in August and May to make the changes because no veteran or any players that are still available in that time want to play for the Las Vegas Raiders because of how much of a laughingstock we are. I know there's people out there that want to tank, but the reason why I don't want to tank is because I want good players to want to come play for us. I want good coaches to want to come play for us. And it's going to be the same shit over and over and over again. And I can't wait to hear Pete Carroll's press conference when I get off this show because it's going to be a lot of dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge over and over and over again. A lot of words, no meaning. All it takes is the right coach staff and the players. Yep, I know, Andre, but it starts with the GM. And John Spytek's got to take a hold of this job and say, Pete, you got to stop calling the shots. John, I've been lenient. I don't appreciate that you didn't get back to me over the weekend. It's your prerogative. It is what it is. But I don't really like when in the entire offseason we're rocking and we're being supportive for all these Raiders players, coaches, front office executives, and it's all mushy, it's all love, and it's all, good. And as soon as the time gets tough, and now everybody's being a dick to these Raiders fans that show up and show out every single time. I'm sick and tired of it. And, John, you're going to lose this job. You're going to lose your own personal legacy. I wanted John to be this GM, and I even said on this show that I think the way that John Spytek's going to build this team is the way that I would build this team. The problem is John's not the one calling the shots. Pete Carroll's calling the shots. And Mark Davis does the same shit over and over. Gives Josh McDaniels way too much power, gives John Gruden way too much power, and now you've given Pete Carroll way too much power. Raiders have quit on Carroll. I actually don't know if they have. I actually think it's just they're that bad. Like, I don't think that they have quit because the players that are playing for the Raiders are guys trying to earn extra contracts. Like a lot of the guys that are playing are a lot of Pete Carroll guys, and I get it. We're going to have our own pieces moving in and out, but like, why are we still playing Kai Blue Kelly over Darian Porter? And I know Darian started today, and Darian had a lot of reps. If Kai Blue Kelly gets one rep, it's too many. It's too much. Right, Jack Besh, why isn't he getting more reps? I don't understand that. In a game where it's 24-3, why are we not playing our younger players? Because we need to develop them and go forward. That's the frustration. The frustration is they're not doing anything. And I mean, they aren't doing anything. And here's what Pete Carroll said. We're all disappointed about this one, but if you don't score, you can't win. We have to protect the quarterback a whole lot better than we did. You're right, Pete, but your son is the one putting that offensive line together. And the Raiders' offensive line last season with essentially the exact same unit with JPJ at center was the 16th best run-blocking offensive line and the 7th best pass-blocking offensive line. Realistically, the only difference has been Brennan Carroll and the Pete Carroll Raiders. I am done with the Pete Carroll Raiders. I am praying to God. And if you're praying to a God that you don't believe in, I'm praying to a God that the Pete Carroll Raiders are done. Because I'm done with Brennan Carroll. I'm done with Geno Smith. I'm done with Pete Carroll. I'm done with Chip Kelly. And somebody's got to get fired tomorrow. I hope you subscribe. I hope you're ready for my show tomorrow. Because if a firing happens, I don't know how long I'm going to be live for. It's going to be one of the craziest shows that I've ever done. I promise you that. hit that subscribe button. Let's get through this season together because I can't wait for the season to be over.